Today we are going to be learning about writing in slope-intercept form. Our essential question is, how can I write equations in slope-intercept form? Vocabulary. Function. An equation with exactly one output for each input. Remember, input is x, output is y. We can also write function in function notation, f of x, which is the same thing as y. Y-intercept, the point where a line crosses the y-axis when x equals 0. That's really important. Slope, rise over run, rate of change, and our slope equation. We touched a little bit on this in chapter 4, but we're going to use this a lot now in chapter 5. Slope-intercept form. Remember, y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope and b is your y-intercept. Writing equations from graphs. Here we have two graphs shown. We want to write an equation from it. So the first thing we need is our m. Remember, that's your slope. So slope from a graph, we do rise over run. Pick 2 points close together. Find your rise and your run. From these 2 points, I rise 2. From those, I rise 1. We get a slope of 2 over 1, which equals 2. However, we can't forget to check if our slope is positive or negative. Remember Mr. Slope Guy? Right here, if we look, positive slope goes up, negative slope goes down. We have a negative slope. So we make our slope negative. Last thing we need is our b, our y-intercept. Where do we cross the y-axis? Where does the blue line cross the green line? Right here at 5. So our y-intercept is 5. Put it together in our equation, y equals mx plus b. M is negative 2, b is 5. Second example. Again, same thing. We first need to start with our slope. However, this one is a little bit more difficult because we don't have points on the line. We have to find those points. I always like to look at my y-axis first and find the point on my y-axis. Right there at 3 is a nice point. Then follow the line down and find a good solid point. If we look here, that doesn't cross evenly on the x-axis. Then as we keep going down here, we're close, but not quite. So we have to keep going down and find this nice point here at negative 3, negative 2. Now we can find our slope. We can draw our slope triangle. We can go up and over. We have a rise of 5 and a run of 3. So we do 5 over 3. Check to see if our slope is positive or negative. We're going up the mountain from left to right. So it is a positive slope. Last piece we need is our y-intercept, our b. So where do we cross the y-axis? We cross it at 3. Put it together, y equals mx plus b. Our m is 5 over 3. Our b is 3. And that's how we write our equation. Next example is writing an equation from 2 points, 2 coordinate points. Our first coordinate point is 0, negative 5. So that's your x1 and your y1. Our second coordinate point is 3, negative 1. So that is your x2 and your y2. Remember, coordinate points always go x, then y. So the first thing we need to do is calculate the slope. I told you earlier that this equation was going to become very important. We're going to use this a lot, so make sure you catch on. We're going to start with using our 2 coordinate points. So we have m equals, on the top of our fraction, right there we have y2 minus y1. So we find our y2, -1, minus, always put that minus sign down. Then we need our y1, which is -5. Now if you notice, there are 2 minus signs there, and that's okay. Sometimes that happens. And 2 minus signs become a plus sign. Then on the bottom of our fraction, our denominator, we have our x2 minus our x1. So our x2 is 3, so we put that first, minus, always put down that minus sign, x1 is 0. Now we can do the operation on the top and the operation on the bottom. -1 plus 5 is 4. 3 minus 0 is 3. So right there we have our slope. M equals 4/3. Identify the y-intercept B. The y-intercept is when x equals 0. So we're going to look up at our coordinate points up here and figure out, is there a coordinate point where x equals 0? And there is right here, this coordinate point, our first coordinate point, 0, -5, x equals 0, and y equals -5. So in the coordinate point where x is 0, the y is your y-intercept. So we can say B equals -5. Last step is to just put it all together. Write that equation. Y equals mx plus b. Put your m in the first blank, so we have 4/3. Put your b in the second blank, -5. And we have our equation. Last example here, write an equation from linear functions. So that we're working with function form. F of x equals y. That's going to be a really big piece here. So if we write that over each of these 2 functions, f of x equals y, f of x equals y, we can then rewrite our functions as coordinate points, because then we get an x piece right there in the parentheses and our y piece after the equal sign. So for our first function, f of 0 equals 5, the x is 0 and the y is 5. For our second coordinate point, our x is 4 and our y is 17. Then we calculate the slope using our slope equation. So we have our x1 and our y1, x2, y2. Plug it into the equation. y2 minus y1 goes on the top. So y2, 17, minus y1, 5. On the bottom is our x's. In our denominator, we have x2, which is 4, minus x1, which is 0. 17 minus 5 is 12. 4 minus 0 is 4. 12/4 can be reduced to 3, so that is your m. Step number 3, identify the y-intercept. Remember, y-intercept is when x equals 0. So let's look up here at our 2 coordinate points, 0, 5, and 4, 17. We do have a coordinate where x is 0. So we take the y piece and say b equals 5. Put it all together, write your equation. Y equals mx plus b. M is 3, b is 5. Now we have written our equation. That's all the notes for today. What I would like you to do right now is to first put your Chromebook away. Make sure it goes in the case. We do not need them anymore. Then complete the stations. They're hanging around the room in yellow paper. And then complete the 5.1 homework. There are 4 problems for you to do on your own. Thank you for watching this video, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel.